Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for everyone to having us in here and your excellencies, and many thanks to the UNAOC and also for giving us a chance in order to speak and express ourselves. I'm Youness Abbou, filmmaker focused on social issues, short documentaries, and also I'm an international coordinator for Chantier Social Marocain, which is an organization that promotes civic engagement within Moroccan youth in order to learn and to learn more values of participatory democracy and how to get involved within their societies and how to make their voices heard to the politicians and also to their own local leaders. And on the other side, we work on the pillars of migration, how to promote coexistence. And that's where the YSM projects come that funded in 2017, and it was Bridge to Coexistence, which consisted of providing an artistical expression and dialogue space between sub-Saharan migrants and Moroccans, where we organized a caravan that went through 5 different small cities in Morocco and organized different activities such as photo exhibitions that is led by migrant artists, where they promoted and showed mainly the life of migrants in Morocco, from the positive side to the negative side. And also we implemented photographic residency within the project, and within the next steps of each caravan we exposed and exhibited these pictures in order to spread the message that coexistence can happen even in a shorter time. And the next activity was the dialogue workshops, where we brought Moroccans and Sub-Saharans together in one same space in order to express their stereotypes first toward each other's communities, which was one of the main goals of that project, is to break the stereotypes between both communities. And we believe, since there is not much platforms for them to meet and in order to discuss, that's why that's what came the idea of bringing them together, and the outcomes they were just amazing. And as you explained in the beginning, when you have two communities when they just come in, they just sit separate from each other, and at the end of the workshop they're just together talking and laughing without even explaining you have to talk to each other. It just happens naturally. The next activity was with local youth, not just youth, but just local NGOs in each city, and it was think tank workshops where we tried and succeeded to implement, to talk about how to implement coexistence projects and their project plans, basically, and we ended up formulating an agenda in each city in order for this project to continue. We don't want just to pass by and that's it. We want to implement it and then guarantee a sustainability kind of thing of it. And also we did screening videos, and it was a main documentary that's being screened in the 5 cities, which talks about a positive experience of a Senegalese migrant within the community, just to show that coexistence and integration is easy and it can happen, basically. And at the end of all of each event, we always concluded it with a concert where we brought Moroccan artists with Sub-Saharan artists in order to perform. And also, the main bit of it is just how beautiful coexistence can be and what can bring us. The other project that I worked on personally was one called Centre de la Deuxième Chance, which means Center of Second Chance. And this one was focused on marginalized youth Moroccans who left schools in early stages in order to reintegrate them back into society and mainly in the work sector. And one of the main projects, activities that I was responsible of is artistic, social, cultural workshops where we bring youth Moroccans together and run projects based on theater activities in order to boost their confidence and teach them about civic aspects and also, civic aspects, and basically to make them prepared and ready again and boost their confidence in order to reintegrate back into societies. One of the other projects, it was called Khuruj min Sokras, which means get out of your box. This project was mainly based on gender inequality, and the way we've tackled it is to talk about masculinity and questioning masculinity within the man's role in society and the expectations from men, and because we believe that if one gender is frustrated, then how the second frustration will come, which is on women. So it was again based on reverse play theoretical workshops where men had to play the role of the women and the women had to play the role of men, and it was interesting to see how everything came out. Well, all of these projects, they sound beautiful and interesting. But as it didn't come up that easy. And as youth-led organizations, we face and we still face many challenges in our lives, as youth and also as organizations. One of the first challenges that, because I just come up with some challenges, of course I can come with all of them, is what I call we listen but we don't talk. And basically, is that often when youth are invited to meetings, conferences, or to give inputs on policies and programs, it's either simply because it looks good to have youth participating, or to have this youth representative because it was a guideline that existed that youth our quota, and that's why we find youth in some conferences and some meetings. But however, often no actual feedback from the youth participant is expected or welcomed or even integrated into the outcomes of the policy decision makings. We hear about them, but then we go and make our decisions. And the idea of the elder have more experience and they know better, which obviously we respect that. But when it comes to matters that is related to youth, I think it would be more youth-led organizations that will know much better and how to mainly to implement and how to talk with the youth in the field. And which brings us to the second challenge, which is the lack of limited funding. Youth-led organizations face an extreme difficulty to get fundings, mainly if they just started, mainly again if they have limited experience and a lack of financial history, which stops the organization from thriving in the first place. They won't be able to secure funds for core operating costs, including the funds necessary to compensate staff and cover overhead expenses, because the funding bodies or stakeholders always thinks about us youth as volunteers. It's always good to volunteer, but volunteering won't maintain the sustainability of the organization itself. And that's like one of the main challenges, because then it makes the youth-led organizations suffer from the turnover of members and staff. You never have like a fixed people like that will always like manage and in order to get to take the organization ahead. And of course you can't blame them because they're volunteers, they have to go and look for their lives for later. And which create like this instability in youth-led organizations in general. Furthermore, because of the lack of these fundings, and also they won't be able to secure a necessary funds in order to run an office, which is one of the big challenges as well, is the lack of a workspace. Because how are we expecting an organization to run projects efficiently and gain a reputation if it doesn't have like a workspace where it can plan their projects, have meetings, and mainly like to run and organize their events? Also, like, what are they supposed to invite like these youths, or to just like organize any events if there is no space? And even like the more challenging thing is how can they provide safe space for youth in order to express themselves freely and talk about taboos and talk about freedom and everything. But this again, it's mainly applicable in developing countries. But like when we talk about developing countries, that's like over 60% of youth population, which is like one of the major pillars that like where we have to act. And that's where my plea will come, like mainly like for the presence of Mr. Excellency, like in order like within the UN and to be like to implement this policy on member states as in securing spaces for their youth-led organizations. And that could be something where we can move forward to the 2030 agenda. As like there is not like enough time left anyway. Like. So that's like as I said, that's like one of like the main challenges that I can think of, and that's it. So now, when it comes to like to talk a little bit positive and quick. So the needs of the youth organizations. So we need trust from the funders, we need trust from the institutions, but this trust, if it's not there, how can we build it? We can build like through these capacity building trainings. We can, before even giving the fundings, we can like provide trainings about how to run projects, how to like, M&E techniques and all of that. Support creativity, support more creative projects than like traditional projects, as in conferences, as in like talks, because the youth, the target won't come unless they are engaged. And now like they start, like I'm talking more about the youth on the ground, like the ones that we want to empower, the ones we want to like move forward. And create space, as I've already like talked about the challenge. And after all, like the impact that like we can create if youth-led organizations have all of the supports, have their spaces, is even within the institutions they can bridge the gap between institutions by bringing new organizational ideas and concepts, for example. Youth-led organizations can easily reach their fellow youth because they can speak their language. And also, they can make a positive influence as they can be like role models for their fellow youth. Thank you.